name is Natalie. I'm a violence prevention educator, and today we're going to talk about sexual harassment. It's typically a more sensitive topic, and it can bring up thoughts or feelings that you may or may not feel comfortable with. So I'm going to do my best to keep this respectful and hopefully make this educational and informative. So, the basics with sexual harassment. Let's see. Grabbing a pen. Alright, so the key word with sexual harassment is that it's unwanted. No one wants to be sexually harassed. No one asks to be sexually harassed. It's basically unwanted. So when we think about sexual harassment, it's unwanted sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and or forms of verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. So it all goes back to unwanted. So normally I'm doing this in a classroom in front of people who can respond back to me, and so I ask them, do you agree or disagree with these? I think they're statements. But the first statement that is brought up is that girls ask to be sexually harassed by the way they dress. And I ask the students whether they agree or disagree with this statement. I just want to say that no one, no matter how they identify, goes to the closet in the morning, looks in there, and decides, what can I wear to be sexually harassed today? Now, I explain most of the time that there's a difference in dressing for attention and dressing. No, it just doesn't happen. No one wants to be sexually harassed. No one asks to be sexually harassed. And no one would dress to be sexually harassed. It just doesn't work that way. All right. The next part of this is this next statement that a lot of people bring up is guys cannot be sexually harassed. That is also untrue. Guys and girls both get sexually harassed. Guys are typically sexually harassed most of the time by other guys, actually. So guys tend to sexually harass both guys and girls actually can sexually harass girls and guys. So it doesn't matter whatever. If you don't identify, you can still be sexually harassed. Anyone can be sexually harassed. And then other times people think sexual harassment is the same as flirting, which we know for sure it's not. So, and we'll go more into that as we talk about sexual harassment. So in order to understand sexual harassment a little bit better, we need to understand that there are two types. The first type is quid pro quo, and it's a Latin term, meaning this for that. So, okay. I can't write with my other hand. Can we? Yeah? Okay. Quid pro quo. So this for that. And basically in terms of sexual harassment, this for that. So I will help you write your essay if you please me sexually. I will get you a raise if you wear shorter skirts. I will give you rent for free if you allow me to install cameras in your shower or something like around your bedroom, right? So please me sexually and I'll do this. So this for that. The second type of sexual harassment is basically creating a hostile environment. So I don't know what you think of when you think of a hostile environment, but definitely unpleasant. It's probably scary or terrifying or just brings on a lot of panic. So when we talk about creating a hostile environment, we have different categories that fall under that. And so it's visual, verbal, and physical. Now, um, verbal is the most common and most frequent. Now, it's important to understand that perceptions of sexual harassment vary from person to person. Not everyone has the same type of humor or perceptions. We all have different things that we think are offensive. So it's important to remember it is up to it's up to the person to decide whether they think it's sexual harassment or not. It's always the fault of the person doing the behavior, never the victim. So um, sexual harassment is also part of a continuum that, if left unchecked or not, or just just let go, it can escalate into rape or other types of sexual assault. So when we look at the hostile environment, it can escalate and escalate and escalate and just grow from there. So things that we find under visual. Now, this can be like both visual for the person or the I guess the aggressor in this case. But mainly what we see are staring, elevator eyes, like, hey, like checking them out from top to bottom. But it could be, posters, clothing, different things like that. And I know that sounds weird, but, I don't know. Let's see. So, um, there was a pizza company and they created t-shirts and they were, I guess they were nicely done, very artistically done t-shirts. However, they could be considered sexual harassment to other people because it was a nude lady, fully well drawn, holding just a pizza. So having that on the back of your t-shirt and going places made parents kind of not so happy when their children would encounter the t-shirt. So it could be clothing, it could be posters. There's rules now about the posters people can have in their lockers, posters that they can have around public areas. Also, the magazines that people look at, just, all right. We also have gestures, okay? So, gestures, maybe hand gestures, but it could also be like tongue wagging or hip gyration or miming sex acts that can also be like sexual harassment. Mooning or flashing. Now, mooning is visual, but if it's done through pantsing, it can also be physical. Let's see. Passing notes around, drawings, different things like that. We actually had like drawings in books that became like um not pleasant, so you'd open to a page and there would be male genitalia drawn all over the page. Okay, so that could be considered sexual harassment. Um, and then um, peeping, but it's also known as voyeurism. But it's where somebody peers in um, to someone through someone's window, or I think most like horror movies tends to put some type of voyeurism into the movie, whether it's like a teen one where there's that hole in the into the girls' locker room that has like the piece of paper towel like pushed into it so no one notices the giant hole about this big, and then when they look through the hole it's a bunch of girls getting ready to go out and do some sort of cheerleading or athletic thing, but the people gathered in the little closet looking at the girls getting ready, different things like that. So that would be peeping. It's in a lot of different movies if you like pay attention to like looking through windows. Okay. Or through holes, just different things like that. Obscene notes, emails, and sexting. So you pick up your phone and someone has sent you a picture of their genitalia or something similar. Sexual harassment. Again, we go back to sexual harassment being unwanted. Verbal. So again, most common and most frequent. And it could be anything from like insults about body parts to talking in a sexual way when unwanted. Um, dirty jokes. So I could be telling my friend a joke and it is completely fine. My friend's all good with it. Um, but somebody overhears it and they find it super offensive. I've created a hostile environment. We're looking at sexual harassment. Rumors, who she's done, who he's done, rumors about body parts, rumors about sexual orientation, just different things like that, all in a sexual manner, all sexual harassment. Homophobic slurs, calling someone negative in a negative way, um, and then um, whistling, like cat calls or wolf calls, um, or all right, this is a serious one. Okay, continually asking the person out after they've said no. All right, so she said, no, I don't want to go out with you. And he's like, well, I'm going to ask you tomorrow. And she said, no, I'm never going out with you. And he just continues and continues and continues. Well, I'm going to ask you until you say yes. So it's going to be every day. All right? I know. So continually asking the person out after they've said no. And then let's see, what are some other things? Sexual comments. It could be crude sexual invitations, like guess what I'm gonna do to you, or ooh, I've seen you before naked in the girls' bathroom. Okay, so just different things like that can be considered sexual harassment. Now over to physical. So any type of unwanted touching. So unwanted hugging, kissing, pinching. Don't love that. Tickling, unwanted tickling in like a gross form. All right. Yeah, I'm comfortable. Okay, I don't even like petting, okay? This is where I draw, like, that's so gross. If you've ever seen someone, like, okay, I was petting my cat, totally fine. If you've ever seen another person pet another person, like, my, what a big girl you've become. That is not okay. Squeezing, all right. So any unwanted touching, grabbing their body parts, okay. Um, okay, so back in the day, and I'm gonna date myself here, we used to have like Friday flip up day. And so as a kindergartner, you always wore shorts under your dress or skirt because it was Friday flip up day, and you ran around the kindergarten, like flipping up each other's dresses. Well, now I've learned it's something completely different. It is slap. I'm going to say booty, but that's not what they call it. Slap Booty Friday, okay? So they walk around like smacking each other in the behinds, okay? So it's, again, this is unwanted. So I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure that is done it playful, especially if you watch a football game, right? They just walk around doing that as like their high fives, I guess. But um, yeah, it's if it's unwanted, all right, and then you kind of grow from there, and we get into like where they're bra snapping. Now I found out that we did it way different back in the day. Like they would slingshot it. Now when they bra snap, they just grab the the strap and they just snap it a little bit. That's very nice. It's not, but it's still unwanted. Don't touch people's undergarments. Invading someone's space. So we had talked about boundaries and like what you're okay with, what you're not comfortable with, but just getting in someone's personal space and not leaving, that's definitely sexual harassment. One of the things that happens quite frequently, actually, I don't know if it happens that much anymore. I do get reports about it, but pushing a boy or a girl into the opposite locker room or bathroom, or pushing someone into a restroom opposite of what they identify as, and then blocking the door. Okay, so like preventing them from leaving and laughing about it. So she was pushed in the boys' locker room and they blocked her in there, and they just did it as a way to torment. Sexual harassment. And then blocking passage. So they didn't let her get out, but also I had another incident that was told to me where she was trying to get out of the classroom and he made her brush against his body to leave that room, or made it hard for her to get down the hall because he kept blocking her with his body. And then we did back here, because of the pantsing, or because of the mooning, we did talk about pantsing or just grabbing their clothing, just different things like that. So physical, it's touching their body or getting in their personal space, preventing them from going places, touching their parts of their body, brushing against them. All right, I think there's probably a lot more, but that gives you a general idea of what creating a hostile environment consists of. The reason it's so important to talk about this is sexual harassment affects your self-esteem. It interferes with your right to learn, work, or study, or participate in school activities in a safe and comfortable atmosphere. So again, I believe that school should be a safe place where you can go, grow, learn, and become more awesome. But if there's sexual harassment involved, it becomes a horrible place. Same with work. If there's sexual harassment happening at work, it becomes a terrible place. So we want to keep your life free from sexual harassment, the ability to identify it, and then work towards the ability to stop it. So sometimes people think that when they are sexually harassing someone, they actually might think that they're flirting. So we're going to look at the difference between flirting and sexual harassment. All right. I am going to just do the initials of sexual harassment so I don't have to write it all out. And then I'm going to do the whole thing for flirting. Okay? So, ready? The difference between flirting and sexual harassment. So we had learned about communication, and in communication we learned about tone of voice, body language, facial expressions. All of that will help you in determining whether someone thinks you're flirting or sexual harassment. Now, sometimes they don't think it's sexual harassment. They just might not be like into the flirting. But you can tell that it's flirting when it makes you feel good and it's two ways. So there's equal power. so let's look at the flirting. La, la, la. Okay, right? We're going to make some beautiful eye contact. Flirty, flirty. Ah, yay. Okay, nice little smile there. All right, so it's two-way. It's going back and forth. Both people are making nice eye contact, and we see smiles. Okay? All right? Sexual harassment. All right, I don't know why I chose to draw the eyeballs popping out of the head, but that's what I chose to do. Okay? Okay? So, sexual harassment. All right. One way. So as you can see, this person's not making eye contact. They can't look at the person. This person is gaining all the power. So sexual harassment, it's about power and control. It's negative. It makes the person feel bad. Where this is positive, the person feels really good about it. It's taken as a compliment. It's uplifting, like, wow, I feel really great today, okay? Like, that was really nice. That person thinks I'm pretty. Where this one, it's degrading, it's hurtful, it's harmful. Most of the time we see, like, open body language and flirting, so they're facing each other, it's nice. But with flirting, when it goes from flirting to sexual harassment, you can notice, like, they cover the body part that is being talked about, or just covering up so they don't have to see it, getting really embarrassed. It can evoke anger, but again, it's unwanted. Where with flirting, it's wanted. It feels good. It's uplifting. It's like, we're loving this. This is great. That person really thinks I'm cute. Okay, and then the tone of voice is cheerful. So there's a difference. Body language, facial expression, tone of voice. And it's fun and exciting. It's just a beautiful time, where this is not at all great. Okay. So normally at this time I would read scenarios and be like, is this flirting or sexual harassment? But that's going to be hard because there's no one to respond. But anyways, all right. So I'll read one. Tom is walking towards his locker to change his books for his next class. A group of girls standing nearby begin whistling and making comments regarding his body parts. Instead of stopping at his locker, he keeps walking. So do you think that's flirting or sexual harassment? If you chose sexual harassment, you're correct. And the reason we know this is that instead of doing what he needed to do, he kept walking. So he couldn't even stop at his locker. It prevented him from doing something. Alright. This one's cute. Alright. So John is leaving the football field when one of the cheerleaders blows him a kiss. A little embarrassed, John walks over and starts a conversation. I think you blew this to me, right? Okay. So is that flirting or sexual harassment? He accepted the kiss, so we're thinking it's flirting. And they started a conversation. Cute. Gross. You can always tell when I'm going to read one that's flirting or sexual harassment, because I always make a comment about it first. Every time Jessica glances over at Cameron, she catches him looking at her before he quickly turns his head. One day, Jessica approaches Cameron and asks what his problem is. He tells her he doesn't have any problem but would like to get to know her better. She says, Why didn't you just say so? And they get better acquainted. So do you think that's flirting or sexual harassment? I guess it started out as like sexual harassment, but then it went into beautiful flirting. And then they became better acquainted. So that's nice. Um, so now that we're familiar with flirting, sexual harassment, now we're going to talk about how to handle sexual harassment. If you've believed that you're being sexually harassed, it's important to let the person know that it's not okay or that you've been offended. Sometimes people don't realize that what they've said or done is offensive to you. Um, Certain jokes and other types of language are thought to be acceptable and commonplace in some situations. So if you feel that you've been sexually harassed, speak up. We recommend using the I statement. So I feel um, upset that you would say that to me. I need that to stop. Um, with sexual harassment, you can go into if you don't stop, I will report it. I will tell every school, place of work, and things that, most stuff out there, like places I volunteer even, they all have a code of conduct, and in that they have how they handle sexual harassment. So your workplace may tell you go tell your supervisor, or if they don't help you, go tell human resources. Um, Other places, they might tell you go tell your teacher. If they don't help you, go tell a counselor. Your teachers will probably help you. Your supervisor should help you. If they are the ones doing the sexual harassment, go above them. Okay? So there's always someone to report to. Never say you're going to do something that you're not willing to carry through. So if I say I'm going to report you, I'm better go report the person. Be assertive about it. Make it stop right then. Don't make it continue. It can have horrible consequences if it's not stopped. No one deserves to be sexually harassed. No one asked to be sexually harassed. So you can say, I need that to stop. Don't resort to physical violence as a solution to the problem. That also has consequences. I had one person actually get suspended when she finally had had enough and she punched her harasser. Okay. It had been going on for like 6 months before she finally had it and just punched him one day, and she got in trouble. But report it, document the what happened. So time, date, who was there, and what happened. If you tell someone, make sure that they also document what happened, what they told you, so that there's a record of it. If somebody tells you about the harassment, listen to them, believe them, help them. You can find a solution. Some people even go along as far as going to the harasser and telling the harasser you need to knock it off, your behavior's not appropriate. Um, and others, they just help them. Like, there's legal ways to handle sexual harassment and non-legal. So non-legal, you would confront the harasser, let them know that that's not okay, you don't like that, that needs to stop. Legal strategies, you're just documenting everything, time, date, who is there, what happens, names of any witnesses, and keep it in a safe place. If they were slipping stuff into your locker, if they were putting stuff on your desk, keep everything the harasser sends you, even unfortunate texts or picture messages, right? Okay. And then report it per your work or school policy. In some cases, you may have grounds to file a civil harassment restraining order, And if it has to do with um, sexual harassment or anything, um, document date, who was there, what happened, injuries that happened, and show that it's a consistent thing. Not just a one time, not just a two time, but that it's a pattern that hasn't stopped. Again, if sexual harassment is ignored, it can often escalate and lead to sexual assault or rape. Um, so, sexual harassment has a lot of consequences. It has both physical and emotional um, injuries, or yeah, I guess I call them injuries or side of, or I don't, yeah, injuries. So physically, a person can suffer from nightmares, loss of sleep, loss of appetite, or increased appetite. It just depends on how they handle the stress. It builds the stress-related disorders, so it could be stomach aches, headaches, migraines. It can also go into like crying or having panic attacks, not wanting to be touched, not being able to be in crowds. Emotional reactions to the harassment could be fear, anger, confusion. Oftentimes they get into a helpless or hopeless place, and that's absolutely not where we want this to go. Um, because once they get there, they can feel like there's no way out and then resort to harmful behaviors. Depression, feeling dirty, fear of crowds, fear of being alone, even, denial, sadness, um, and then the physical and emotional reactions can be acted out or reflected in changes in behavior. So it could have a negative impact on their education. So their grades could go down. They could actually drop out as a result of it. Or if it's happening at work, they could quit or withdraw or have participation issues. Um, Wearing more clothing than normal, not wearing makeup, changes in friends, changes in appearance. So, we'll talk about one person right now. And she worked at a gym when she was younger, okay? And her supervisor was the one who was doing the harassment. And I guess one day he came up behind her and she was standing at the counter and he put his hands like around her, holding the counter and like pressed into her, and then asked her how, like, hey, how are those A's today? And she was like, okay, whatever, I don't follow baseball. And he goes like, creep on, right? Like, oh, I don't, oh, I wasn't talking about baseball. Okay, so she was like really like creeped out. He started calling her Flatty Patty. Okay, and so after a while, a lot of sexual harassment, a lot of like um, just gross, like uncomfortable groping, touching, different things like that. She was crying. She thought she needed this job. She couldn't handle it anymore. She was having nightmares. She went from wearing like gym attire, like shorts and a t-shirt, to wearing 3 pairs of pants and an extra large sweatshirt that I think went to her knees, just so she didn't have to be seen, because it has a huge impact. Now, that impact not only impacted her then, but also impacts her to this day, where it's like she can't even go to a gym. She tried to go into a gym and she was having a panic out in her car, not able to go into the gym, until she realized, like, oh, it's because of my past trauma from sexual harassment that is preventing me from being able to go into the gym. And so, with a lot of therapy and a lot of help, she was able to overcome the past trauma of the months of sexual harassment she endured at a job she thought she needed. Um, it went on. He started, after like seeing her in public, he realized that she wasn't Flatty Patty, and so all of a sudden it was Baby Got Back, and he was doing different things. So it's horrible. No one wants to be sexually harassed. No one asks to be sexually harassed. There is help out there if you are being sexually harassed. Um, and just There's so much trauma that comes from this. So remember to be respectful. If you're being sexually harassed, reach out for help. Talk to someone about it. Don't try and handle it on your own. Definitely get some support. All right? I appreciate you so much. Thank you. You are awesome.